Hello. Hello and welcome. Welcome once again to the Secrets of the High Demand Coach podcast. And I'm here with yet another high demand consultant, and that is Dr. Jane Lovas. She has over 30 years of experience as a software developer, technology leader, and consultant. She's the principal and owner of Lovas Consulting, a coaching and consulting provider for women leaders in technology. Now, Jane has her PhD in organizational behavior and master's in information systems. Quite the 1-2 combination, if I might add. She has consulted with companies such as Booz Allen Hamilton, Washington Mutual, Fannie Mae, Nextel Communications, and Exo Communications, where she has a proven track record of successfully turning around failing projects while also improving morale, communication, and team cohesiveness. Well, Jane, I'm so excited to have you on this show. I have so many questions that we can dive into here. But before we get to all of that, I'd love to just start with you. What were you doing before coaching consulting, and how did that ultimately lead you to make the leap?
Well, it started as being a software developer. And I was actually a software developer when we were called programmers. And when I was post card punch, but we would, when I was in school, I was in school out in Las Vegas, and we would send our code to United Airlines in LA and get it back the next day. And you hoped you didn't have a mistake. And what I really love doing is solving problems. So that's how I ended up as being a developer and how I moved into consulting and then coaching.
Wow. And in particular, a woman in this programming development space and technology, very much pioneering your own way through that in a lot of respects, I would imagine. Tell me, what is it that you found distinctly challenging about that, and also what has been the most rewarding parts of that for you?
Well, for me, what was one of the most challenging things was my husband was active duty in the Air Force, so we moved a lot. What being in technology gave me was it gave me quick access to jobs. There were always jobs available. Where it hindered was I didn't do any, I didn't even know to do any planning and look at this as a career. I just did it because it was fun. I liked it. It was easy. I know people are going to laugh when they say it was easy. Yeah, it was easy for me, and but I didn't take it seriously.
Hmm.
It was good, and I loved it. And it wasn't until my husband retired and we were actually in one place that I started taking it seriously. And I still, to that, it was never intentional. And that is actually one of the things that I work with leaders about being is intentional. What is it that you want? Nobody ever asked me what I wanted. I just kind of fell into things and did well and had fun.
Remarkable. So you've got this long and successful, even though it's maybe casual to an extent, but a long successful career in the tech industry. And now you've kind of moved into this coaching consulting role. What would you say some of the most important work you're doing for your clients today?
Well, I have a big vision that I created about a year and a half ago, and that is causing and elevating 1 million women leaders in technology. And it's not even doing it by myself. The odds of my coaching 1 million women leaders is pretty slim. I intend to live a full, long life, but even that's pretty challenging. And so it really is encompassing having lots of conversations, sharing what I'm out to create. And the reason that I'm out to create this is when you look at women coming into technology, they come in at entry level at about 50%, and they're 50% of the population. But by the time you get to mid-level and senior levels, they start dropping off. By the time you're at the senior level and the CEO level, they're at about 24%, 22 to 24%.
Wow.
And there's a lot of reasons for this. We've still got societal structural reasons. We've got, that people like to hire people like themselves. We've got things that women can do. We've got things that men can do. And so what I'm really committed to being is that voice that just keeps continuously asks that question. How do we create organizations that are really effective, and they really solve the problems? They're innovative. People like working there. Because what I found in all the years of my consulting and working as a project manager, developer, I have worked with people that loved doing what they love, that they do. And they got frustrated with the company. And I want to change that.
Well, so we've had a number of guests, and this is something that we cannot repeat enough, but a lot of it has been focused on particularly women themselves and how they can succeed in business and in their careers. One of the things I noticed on your site was you go into companies and help CEOs and leadership teams to create an environment where women can succeed inside of their businesses. And I'd love to just kind of dive into that a little bit, because I think it's a central piece of how we create more effective organizations is by bringing everyone into it. So tell me a little bit. You've got the CEO who's listening, and they're alarmed by the statistics like you and I are, and they're looking in their own company, and it's like, that's kind of true, right? So what can that leader, that team do to start to move the needle?
Well, and there's a couple different ways, and it's really great. I'm glad you asked that, because I'm in the process of writing a book right now called Leading with Love. And that's really the whole point behind it, is creating organizations that really work. And so there's three main pillars that I talk about, that I'm writing about in this book. And they're things that I've worked on formally and informally in my career. And the first one is leader, know thyself. Mm. So know really who you are. A lot of leaders, I've been with leaders and stuff that say, well, this is just the way that I am. I'm very direct. I ask very pointed questions. That's just the way that I am. And actually, that's probably not just the way they are. They learned to be that way. And it was fairly effective. It was effective enough for them to get where they are. But it's not taking them where they want to go. And every CEO that I know, that I've talked to, that I read about, they all want to even be more successful. Hmm. And so there's a lid that we all have on our own self. And so the first thing is being willing to really know yourself and look at what's working and what's not working. And that's a really deep conversation.
Yeah, it sure is. And the thing that I like about this is you right out of the gate is like, hey, these are things that have served you well to various degrees, right? Some of them haven't, but these are things that have worked for you, right? There's lots of successful tech companies out there with 20% men, so these are things that have worked historically. So how do you help someone to kind of reset that conversation and say, how is it working for you now?
Well, one of the things, and we're all familiar with 360 surveys, and that's always a great place to start. But then I take it to the next level, which I do stakeholder-centered coaching. And what's unique about it is that it involves your stakeholders. So much coaching, and I've been a part of this before, is what I call coaching behind closed doors. People don't even know that the leader is being coached. and they don't share, and they don't share what they're working on, and they don't really talk about it. Well, in stakeholder-centered coaching, once you get that 360, you take a look at it, and we look at with, maybe that's somebody on the board or a peer that you really, you've got a lot of regard for. We pick what it is that you're going to work on. And then the leader goes out and shares that with, and this is why it's called stakeholder-centered coaching, shares it with their stakeholders, which are typically 3 to 5, maybe 8 people that they identify, but they're 2 peers and 3 to 5 people that report directly to them.
Wow.
So when a leader starts sharing that and starts getting feedback, what happens is it almost seems like miracles. Their behavior starts changing. And in many ways, it's often easier to start with the outer behavior because you can see that rather than the inner behavior. But the outer behavior is always a reflection of what you're thinking. So as you start really focusing on that, you actually have to start getting clear on what's going on in your head too. But the other thing is, by enrolling your stakeholders to be a part of this, they're now totally invested in your success.
Right.
They want you to succeed. So even if they see you doing something that they've seen you do before that you said you want to change, and think back when somebody said to you, or you said to somebody, I'm going to change this, and you go back to your old behavior, you didn't enroll them. And either the first thought of you for that other person, or that the other person is thinking, well, here they go again. They didn't change at all.
Yeah.
Because they're not invested in that. When you're invested in it, you keep working with that person because they know your commitment.
Yeah. One of the most devastating thing I've seen in leaders who are going through these kind of change processes is that, the timing on their change and the timing that change shows up in the world consistently enough for everyone to believe it, there's a gap, right? And what I love about what you're talking about here is it kind of acknowledges that gap and invites everybody in, right? Yes. And yeah, that's really, really cool. So I want to keep us going though, because I think you're onto something. The first step was leader, know thyself, right? In creating organizations where we can lead with love. What would be the second step?
Leader, know thy stakeholders. So, and in this case, from the coaching, this stakeholders is really expanded because it also includes your customers, because they have a stake in your organization. The community that your business is in, that you work and play in, your suppliers, they're all your stakeholders. Even the environment, because if we keep going the way we're going with the environment, we're not going to have a place to have business. So those are all your stakeholders. So knowing them and knowing who they are, knowing what makes them tick, you can help ensure that people get in the right positions, that they're doing the jobs that they are suited for. And what this does not mean, because I've had leaders ask me about this does not mean that you cannot let anyone go, because it actually may support that person to be left, because your organization may not be the right culture, the right fit, the right whatever for that person. And there are ways to let people go. Not sending texts or on Twitter is not the way to do it.
I've used this a couple of times with folks, and I would say we express our humanity not in whether we keep someone employed at our company or not, but in how we go about separating, right? So you don't send things in text. You help them find the next thing, right? just because they're not employed with you doesn't mean they're not employed anymore. And it doesn't mean that you can't help them find something better. So I love that approach, and that idea of inviting your customers even into your coaching process. I think is powerful. That's really cool. What would you say then is the third kind of key pillar of this model?
The third one is create success for all. Because if your customers are successful, they're going to keep buying your products, right? If your employees are supporting you successfully in creating your products, and I've been reading studies lately that really actually even support this, is organizations that say we're going to take care of the people first, and then we're going to focus on profit, versus companies that say, oh, our profit, this is what we're taking on, is we're going to be more profitable this year. And yeah, we'll take on our employees and our customers. The companies that take on their customers and their employees and make that the first priority end up with a higher profitability than the companies that start focused on the profit. Because profits is an outcome, a measure of how your organization is doing.
Yeah, it's so true. So there's a question I like to ask all of my guests, and I think there's an opportunity to kind of round all of this out and pull it all together. But what would you say is the biggest secret that you wish wasn't a secret at all? What's that one thing that you wish everybody listening or watching today knew?
Really, that secret that you can treat people more than just right, but we'll just use that word for right. Treat everyone right, and your company's going to be a success.
And what gets in the way of that? Because I think we all are kind of like, yes, I agree with that, but it's rare in practice. So what is it that gets in the way of that?
Our own fear, our own thought that there isn't enough, that if I don't get it first, I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to get my fair share or even more than my share. And we've seen this happen throughout the ages, and there's always something that comes along to open things up. And by your being there in that space, who knows what will open up for your organization that's going to take you to the next level.
Yeah. Oh, so good. All right. So one more question here, and then I'd love to share how folks can get in touch with you. But before we get there, what would you say if you were to kind of take off your coach consultant hat for a moment, put on your CEO hat, jump into the ring with the rest of us, if you will? And what would you say the next stage of growth looks like for you and your organization? And what challenge will you have to overcome to get there?
Well, I'm starting to speak. I'm going back to speaking, and my commitment is to be an international speaker, because I really want to take this message out and expand it. And so really, I get to deal with myself. Who am I to be able to do that? How can I say that? What do I have that's so important to say? And I'm actually next week, I don't know when this is going to be released, but it'll be near the 4th of July. I am going to Israel to speak at a leadership summit on leading with love. And we need love, kindness, and I'm talking about love as a real power to make a difference. And we need that in the world.
That's awesome. It's so exciting to see that launching out. And again, that goal of 1 million leaders, women leaders rising up, and the ability to do that. I'm excited to see where this goes for you. I think it's gonna be fantastic. So if folks are out there, maybe they're saying, hey, we'd love to bring in Jane to come and speak with our organization, or we just need help us, or they like this idea of stakeholder-centered coaching. How can folks find more out about your work and get in contact with you?
Well, my website is Lovas, Lovas, B as in Victor, AS, Consulting. So they can reach out to me there. and I'm on LinkedIn. Jane Lovas. I am the only one. So easy to find. Reach out, connect. Yes, I would love to have a conversation. My book, Leading with Love, is going to be published in October. And I've got a fun, quick, inspirational read that if anybody reaches out, that I'll be happy to share with them, called Put Your Big Girl Panties On and Kick Your Fears in the Ass.
That's fantastic. Well, head on over to lovasconsulting.com. I believe I remember seeing the book on there. And yeah, go ahead and request your copy. Jane, it's just an honor and privilege having you here. I'm so excited about this message that you have and your ability to get it out to the world. Thank you for being here. And for those of you tuning in, your time and attention mean the absolute world to us. I hope you got as much out of this conversation as I know I did, and I can't wait to see you next time. Take care.